Good evening, and welcome to Music of the Night. My name is Karnis, and I will be your storyteller this evening. And with me, I have but a sole, lone, vigilant hunter. I didn't want to use that word, but standing against the
Vigilant
darkness.
hunter playing Hunter the Vigil. Got it.
Yes. Well, I wanted to use another word, but I failed, so.
It's alright.
And his name is?
kcStranger playing Petra Schweinsteiger. An unfortunately laggy Petra Schweinsteiger tonight, but we'll do what we can.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it happens. No, it's not you. It was happening before the music.
Oh, no, I was adjusting music volume.
Okay. Anywho.
Anyways, so, I won't go over what happened last time on Music of the Night because it's kind of irrelevant to what's going to happen tonight. As you may have noticed, dear viewers, all three of you that may ever watch this, there is only one of us. I'm really glad there weren't two of you because there might have been a very different finger. So, it's been an interesting couple of weeks here at the Music of the Night. Things are a little crazy right now. You all are probably very aware of my computer issues. Now on top of that, we have summer and work going nuts for the two of us here, which is ironic because we're the ones that are here. But no, music's kind of going crazy for work's kind of going crazy for everybody. But so tonight, we're gonna have a couple of little side scenes with Petra. Anyway, so I'm not going to address the things that if you don't watch very carefully, you might not see.
Thank you.
Yeah, so where to start? There's a cat in my room.
Hello, mister.
Did not realize she was there. Anyways, it's probably been a couple of weeks since the whole shebang went down. This probably sounds like a very familiar story at this point to anybody who's been watching the last couple of little offshoots. Petra, you would have set up your safe house by this point, and everything's sort of all arranged. You've already probably had the little weird invitation with the archangels. So yeah, you are, I'm going to say, well, I mean, on any given day, you'd probably be working, right?
On any given day, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, the usual routine is some mix of like, working out / shooting practice, and like the random bullshit like, grabbing drinks or messing around on my computer or sketches or something like that.
Okay. So you're probably at work then, because this is probably 2 in the afternoon. You're at a house. Nobody else is there. It's somebody you've probably done work for a couple of times. And so they just like sort of let you know when, please don't sue me, Nintendo. You're probably, they probably have told you where the hideaway key is, and you just sort of go in and do your thing. And while you're sort of got your, elbow deep into some electrical guts, you feel a familiar buzz at your hip. And do you answer?
I mean, check caller ID first.
Okay. So you check caller ID. Sorry, hold on. I'm trying to remember if something happened. No, it totally would have happened. By now, at least. It's Luca.
Okay, yeah, I'll answer it. Hello?
Hey.
Or I'll say hello, Petra.
Hey, Petra. It's Luca.
Hi, Luca.
Hi, and make me a perception roll, which is, again, it's been a while.
Yeah, I think I remember what that.
Wits composure. You hear some odd struggling in the background. Occasional sort of grunts of effort, followed by some sort of weird scraping, and then at the very end, sort of like a short stifled yelp.
Okay.
And then you sort of get the like phone to the shirt, like you can hear something sort of muffled being said. And when Luca comes back, he goes, yeah, I've got something going on I was kind of hoping to get your help with. Maya said you're kind of the demon person?
Not so much, but I can give it a whirl. Not so much as the ghosties, if you will.
No, unfortunately, my priest is out of town, so...
Fair enough. See what we can do. Do you need me right away?
There's a sort of a pause. No, we've got it under control, but could you come by this evening?
You're sure this evening's okay?
Yeah.
All right.
I've not my first rodeo, but I just don't exactly have the tools.
I trust you. Just making sure. All right. Okay. I'm trying to think. Where do you need me?
Oh, right. You've never been to my place. He rattles off an address that is sort of on the border of like North Akron, Cuyahoga Falls area.
Okay.
Not super close to the shop, but not real far either. Maybe like a mile or two.
Okay. All right. I'll be by as soon as I can.
All right. Thanks, Petra. I appreciate it.
No problem.
See you tonight, and he hangs up.
Okay. So I guess I'm finishing up my job with all due haste. Double checking my cash for the sort of things I would need, and then heading over.
Okay. All right. So you probably have holy water out the yin yang if you want it. You definitely have. I think we've already pretty much established that you have some sort of prayer. No, some sort of crucifixy type thing.
Oh, I got a rosary during the last.
Okay. Okay.
Let me double check what I actually have written down. So things I have written down include holy water, rosary, and then like my usual, like blessed silver bullets and that kind of thing.
So yeah,
although I would be still at 5 at this point. Am I going to be able to resupply that before the next arc? How much of a dent is that going to put in my?
Well, here's the thing. This is what we're kind of addressing now. So
okay, sounds good.
So you sorry, I'm thinking. Yeah, so you've got plenty of holy water, you've got the rosary, you've got your tattoos, you've got...
No, I left my tattoos at home.
And basically anything you can think that's just sort of like basic stuff that you could have picked up via work and or your association with the church is more than easily accessible.
Yeah, I'm trying to... Okay. Yeah, I have like one more thing kind of in mind, but I think it's too complicated for me to have now, so we're good.
Okay. So my other question is, you have your, was it Vedo Retro Centeno?
Yes.
Actually, that would be... That would
Vade
technically
Retro
be-
Satana.
Right. Where is that? Where did it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Ah, yes. Vade Retro Centeno. Okay.
Satana.
Satan. Yeah. No, it is Satan. You're very right.
It's not
right.
a guitarist or a member of TForce.
No.
It is neither of those things.
Although, so you probably have some sort of book of exorcisms as well, or some sort of written form. Do you bring that, or do you just rely on your sort of now instinctual benediction?
I mean, have I read the entire book?
I'm sure it's stuff. I doubt it's like an actual book,
Okay.
like a published book. It's probably stuff that you've gone through and found out works and have written down.
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing: if it's something that I've read carefully, I remember it.
Absolutely.
So
I was just curious if you would actually take the article as sort of a
would I have any reason to? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Not necessarily. No, I mean, it's just sort of a, do I think you need it? No.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah, unless I had a specific reason for thinking I needed it along, I would probably leave it behind just as a safekeeping kind of thing.
Makes sense. Okay. All right. So you finish up your job, you go home, you pick up your stuff in your typical duffel bag. Unless.
No, you know what? No, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in. There is an edge case where I'd want to have it along.
All right. And you drive over to the address that Luca gave you. When you pull up, it's a very standard 2-story colonial, very Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
The lawn's probably a little less kept than the lawns next to it. But it's not like in disrepair or anything.
Okay.
It's brown with green shutters.
Oh, mint chocolate chip house. I'll find a convenient place to park, come up and just sort of knock on the front door.
Okay, yeah, you can either pull into the driveway or park on the street. There's plenty of space. So you go up, knock on the door. There's no answer.
Okay, I'll open my cell phone and call.
There's a couple of moments before the ring. You sort of start to hear the ring, and Luca opens up. It's got one of those sort of covered porches.
Mm-hmm.
And so Luca opens up the door to the house and then just sort of like waves you in and then like disappears back inside.
Yep, close the phone up, step inside.
All right. You step into the porch, and then as you walk over the threshold of the house, there's sort of a... You have touched a Tesla coil. Or with... Not a Tesla coil. Yeah.
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 Talking about
and
that
you've also,
staticky...
Yeah, and you've also touched those little globes. Yeah, like your hair stands up on end and...
Is it Vanderveer? Is that what it's called?
Something like that, yes. Though I cannot remember right now for the life of me.
No, it begins with a V.
It does. That sounds right. But anyways, yeah, you get that very staticky, like, hair rising... Yes, Vandergraaf. Hair rising on the back of your neck and your arms sort of feeling. And it passes as soon as you, like, sort of step through the door. But it's this very odd moment. So you step in. The house is dark. Sun is not quite set, but all the curtains are kind of pulled. And Luca hands you a glass.
Is there anything in the glass?
Looks like water.
Okay. I'll look at it, look up at him, just sort of raise an eyebrow.
Just take a sip.
Okay, I'll take a small sip.
Tastes a little stale. Aside from that, it's probably water.
Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine. He takes the glass back, sets it on a little table. All right, so it's in the basement. I guess I should probably start at the beginning. I have a roommate. His name's Kenneth. I believe you guys have met once.
I think back. I know the name has come up. I'm trying to remember where it came up.
Yes. You, and we never 100% fully established it, but you did a favor for Kenneth at some point in the past.
Okay.
And he's the one that actually provided you with those 6 bullets that you were carrying around.
Right. Okay. I remember that now.
He's a double major chemistry and xenobiology.
Okay.
You probably met him while you were in trade school, like somebody invited you out to like a college party or something, and you decided to go that one time.
Okay.
So the name sounds familiar to you. Anyway, he teaches at the university, and he had a student that stopped coming to class. A promising student, he said. He helps me out a lot, and you see him sort of gesture a thumb to a wall behind him. And as your eyes sort of adjust and you look, there's a wall, and it has probably 5 or 6 different bladed weapons, plus racks of different kinds of ammunition, small weird glass bottles, a handful of contraptions that you would swear were claymores, except for the fact that they're made out of what looks to be actual clay and maybe iron. As well as and like a couple of actual assault rifles and a veritable horde of other firearms.
Eyebrows raised in appreciation, but letting him continue.
So I thought I'd give him a hand, sort of look into it. I'm not a detective or anything, but I've had to hunt down a handful of things. So I found out that this kid, Micah's his name, had been Micah.
Micah, okay.
Yes. Had been hanging out at a couple of clubs I know a little bit about. He takes 2 fingers and sort of does this.
Clubs never work out well.
You just have to know the right ones, but no, in general, avoid all of them. Anyways, so I thought one thing, because I mean, you hang out at a vampire club, you get vamped. It's usually how it goes, or food. And so I followed him to his home. He'd only been going out at night. I watched him for a couple of days, and so this morning we busted in to try and see if he was full, Night Stalker, or if he was just a ghoul. Turns out it was neither.
Sounds like a good thing.
And as he's been saying this, he's been leading you through the kitchen, which has a couple of dishes in the sink, as well as a large collection of bottles sort of skewed out around, all empty.
Of course.
And various, whiskeys, and you do see a handful, or you do see a couple of bottles of tequila or gin or something odd, but mostly whiskey. And he leads you through a door that goes downstairs, and as he's saying this, you guys are sort of coming around one of those typical basement stairs that goes down, turns, and goes down the other direction. I don't know what those are called. There's probably a name for it.
There's like a landing on it. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, just landing stairs. But
yeah,
I know there's a specific term.
Okay, I do not know the term.
I don't either. They're not open. All the stairs are backed because Luca is mildly based on somebody who hates open stairs.
I'm also remembering, did you watch Dollhouse?
Yes.
Open back stairs are the worst. I forget what they're called.
They are. No, they're awful. They're awful. Don't ever, ever, ever have them. So as you're turning and go down the last little set of stairs, there is a lab. Like, that's the only other word you have to describe it. You kind of expected sort of a typical unfinished basement, because it is unfinished, but everything is very sterile. The walls are all, they're not painted white, but they're a sort of dull grayish, but they have that sheen of sealer.
Mm-hmm.
And there are racks and racks and racks of various substances along all the walls. There are two literal like Coke coolers, like you might see in a pizza place or something like that.
Yeah.
Shoved up against one wall with all sorts of substances inside of them of various colors and viscosities, as well as a table.
Oh, rip! Is it rip time? Yep. So it is. Well, folks, here ends the recording of part 1. We'll pick up in a moment with the basement lab. Okay, so we're now recording again. So we just picked up with being back down in the lab, and I saw some sort of large refrigerated table thing that apparently has a lump of some... Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, as well as... So there's the two normal chemistry style tables that you might see in any high school chemistry class. And then the refrigerated table, you spot, so it's clean except for like some sort of weird lump of gray, stony, craggy flesh.
Okay.
And then across the room is a door. Normally the door wouldn't catch your eye in a room like this, except for the fact that the door is literally glowing.
Okay.
It's made out of what you can only presume is actual iron. It's inscribed with enough different runes and languages that instead of looking like a flat piece of iron, it looks more like those bas-relief stones that are more carving than they are actual stone.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those runes and carvings and various languages are inlaid with different either luminescent liquids or metals or various things, and you get the feeling that if you were epileptic, it might cause a seizure.
Okay, so looking around the room, I'm going to say, you know that these kind of renovations make the place harder to resell, right?
So Luca's about halfway across the room when he stops and actually just full belly laughs. He turns back and I'm not planning on selling anytime soon. There's too much history in this house.
Apparently. And I'll sort of skip along.
Plus, it's, he stops and sort of looks up and around. It's all that's left of my family. And he continues forward. Opens up the door. And as he sort of takes a hand and runs it down a couple of different grooves, and you hear sort of a odd whisper that you presume is him saying some sort of spell. And then he turns the door and opens it, and it doesn't like lose any of the glow or shine or anything, but there is an odd... What are you wearing? I guess is a good question. Are you wearing like loose clothes or like a jacket or?
Yeah, let me think. Probably just my standard attire, which would be jeans, just a solid like top,
and it's
like
winter,
with like a jacket.
And it's winter, so you're probably wearing a jacket. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's true. It is winter.
Yeah. It's probably actually. No.
So I probably
it's totally the week before Christmas.
Okay, so like I probably then would have been wearing a large coat over all this. So, maybe I'm even wearing like I need to get more up on my women's fashion.
I was about to say Petra always felt like a Carhartt gal to me, but
Carhartt?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a type of coat. Hold on.
Oh, I see. I mean, something along those lines, certainly.
Yeah, that's very much like heavy workman's, but with a little bit of more of a feminine flair.
Yeah, sure. I can buy that.
I mean, Petra's function over fashion normally, right?
I mean, especially moments like this. Yeah. So Petra is very much the type who, like there is like this much. Oh, let me get my hands in frame. There's like this much of her wardrobe that is like normal daily wear, which is like I don't want to look like shit, but it's very much function. And then there's like this much of her wardrobe that is like, oh, I need to look good sometimes.
And then there is this much of her wardrobe that is, fuck what I look like, I need something between me and something nasty.
Oh. Sure, yeah.
I mean, I feel like everybody has... Does everybody not have that?
No, everybody does not have that.
Well, fuck. Okay. Never mind. Karnis is going to go build a bunker now. Yeah, so your jacket is open, I assume, because you walked inside. And it sort of billows out a little bit, like you just, like a strong breeze just blew by.
Mm-hmm.
Except that, look, you don't feel any physical sort of wind. It's just sort of that weird, soft pillow push. Mm-hmm. And you felt it at least once before, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So that was a really, really long and drawn-out way to describe that.
That's fine. We got there.
So as he opens the door, there's a small man, maybe a couple years older than Luca, yourself, because I think you guys are about the same age, and dark black hair with cropped, like not super short, but sort of shortish. He's got wire rim glasses that are more sort of nerdy than hipstery.
Okay.
And he's wearing a sort of comfortable sort of polo type shirt and what looks to be maybe slacks of some kind. And he has a lab coat on over top of it. And he's standing a good couple steps away from a even smaller young man who looks almost emaciated thin. He might be 5'3", 5'4", tops. He's very, very short. He has really, really, really light hair that might have been blonde at one point, but now almost looks gray. And the biggest, weirdest thing is, well, it's tied. It might be the fact that he is chained to a chair in the middle of the room, or it might be the fact that as he looks up at you, his eyes are completely and totally white.
And just give a small wave to the first man.
Oh. So Luca sort of steps in, and as you wave, you see Kenneth, who you recognize now. It's been a couple of years, but he hasn't changed a ton. And he sort of holds up a hand and just sort of awkwardly waves back a little bit. And as you step into the room, the young man in the middle of the room sort of locks his eyes on you and begins to say something in an odd language. And as he does, Luca sort of blurs and slams a fist into his jaw. And there's a extremely loud crack. And Luca takes a step back, and you can clearly see the darkness sort of showing over this. It's hard not to think of him as a boy cheek, and his jaw is sort of hanging a little bit looser than it was before. And you can see Kenneth sort of like flinch away. Obviously, he's probably not a big fan of violence. And Luca sort of looks at you. He's been doing that all day, and I've tried everything I know how to do. I figured I'd maybe seek out a little more. He gestures openly at the ceiling.
I see. Is there any reason not to get right to it?
Not as far as I know. And Kenneth sort of walks towards the door and says, anything to just get this over and done, and I need a drink. He walks out.
Okay, just Luca, if you can do your best to keep him from trying anything. This will take a few minutes.
Luca sits down, actually, which is weird. And he sort of steeples his fingers and closes his eyes. And he takes a couple of deep breaths. And you're kind of waiting for a response of some kind. And then he opens his eyes again, doesn't really look at you. All right. I've got him.
And I don't even respond. I just take a quick moment, just like throw up a very brief prayer as I'm thinking about this thing that's been sort of unfurling in my mind since that time a few weeks ago that I never actually used, and I'm gonna roll into it.
All right. So this is, I don't have any 10-sided dice, so I'm going to have to roll in front of you. Oh no. This is going to be a contested roll. And it's going to be, I believe...
Resolve, Composure, Benediction.
Yes, should be Resolve, Composure, plus Benediction. Yep. So it's going to be your resolve and composure +2. And each roll is going to represent essentially like 30 seconds to a minute, give or take.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm accelerating it.
That's fine. That's totally fine with me.
I find it to be a lot more high impact and more interesting if it happens faster.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. I just was just looking at what it actually said. That's all.
Yep.
All right.
So, shall we roll together?
Sure. And I see no reason not to willpower this. I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. Also, add +3.
Oh, shit. I'm rolling so many...
Oh, that's right.
If I fail this, I'm going to be so sad.
He's going to get a -2 for the environment as well. And a -1 because you had Luca actively hold down that. Wow. Okay. This is going to be a lot more one-sided than I realized. All right.
Ready?
3, 2, 1.
Well, I only got 3 out of 14 dice.
So, the first couple of lines go by, and the young man sort of starts whipping from side to side, and he locks eyes with you, and his tongue sort of starts to loll out of one side of his mouth, and you see his lips moving a little bit, but it's like no volume can sort of come out. And Luca does that weird sort of yogi, like crisscross applesauce to standing straight up stand, which, like, Luca's fit, but you've never seen him display any sort of like meditative movement style understanding, so it's kind of weird to see. And he takes a step forward, and the entity whips its eyes back in response. Make me a wits composure roll -3. Oh, damn, nice. That's -3?
Yeah, it's normally 6.
Then it should be 3, right?
Yeah, but I got
you rolled 10. Ignore me.
Nope, that's fine.
Luca's skin is sort of getting pale and a little... He normally has a really healthy sort of tan hue, which, given his use of the occasional Spanish word, you assume is inherited. But he's paling up, and his skin is getting a little, dare you say it, gray?
Okay,
And the young man's lips stop moving, and there's this weird sort of almost staring contest between the two of them.
Okay, do I have any sense like the thing is trying to get into Luca?
Oh, man. Make me a wits occult -3. You're dividing your attention a lot right now trying to do this.
Right. Actually, let me see here.
Just make the roll. I'm not going to penalize you for failing.
Yeah, no. I'm just because, frankly, I've got a little burn. I'm going to go ahead and willpower that too.
I'm going to say you can't willpower it.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Because you're already putting your full will into your exorcism.
All right. That's fair. I'll just go ahead and do a straight reroll then. So here we go. This is not a chance roll, though.
No. I knew it wasn't.
All right.
Okay. All right. So you can't tell. You asked him to do what he could to shut the creature down, so you're pretty sure that's what's going on.
Right. Well,
You might just have to trust him at this point.
Yeah, I just keep going then.
All right, so second roll.
Okay, that said, I am going to go ahead and risk on this one.
You absolutely can.
All right, ready?
Yep. 3, 2, 1.
Wow.
Oh, what? I done fucked up. There we go. 1.
You actually won that.
3. Damn.
I rolled
So
really badly.
You do get your 2 willpower back. This is contested though. It's not a win. It's so like you are
right.
now
Yeah, it's
5,
not a win,
it's
but
a
I
3.
didn't like roll 0, so I still get the willpower back, right?
Yeah. Yes, you do. Oh no, you get the willpower back plus 1.
Oh well. Oh yeah.
So your willpower is now full again.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed you rolled more dice this time. Anyways, go ahead.
Almost as though it decided it was worth using willpower.
Almost.
So you sort of narrow your gaze and work your way through the second passage, and the young man, small as he is, begins to sort of strain and snap against the binds that hold him to the chair. And you're watching, the chair is bolted into the ground. And on top of that, he's chained to that, and the chains are embedded with deep iron and silver spikes like this into the walls and the floor. And you're watching the bolts on the chair sort of pop up a little bit as he's snapping against everything. And make me another Wits Composure roll -4 this time. Because there's a lot going on. Okay, Luca takes a step forward and reaches a hand forward. Doesn't quite touch the young man. And he sort of snaps out and bites at Luca's hand. And as he does, there's a flash of light. And the kid is thrust back into the chair. And when he opens his eyes, you see pupils. They're surrounded by white, but you see pupils. And there's a weird, thick tension in the air, like just before a storm breaks. And it's time to roll again.
All right. Ready?
3, 2, 1.
It was close.
Five. Nice. And as you see those pupils sort of appear, you redouble your efforts. And you begin to feel there's this sort of warmth that sort of sits in the center of your chest. It's not your heart. You know it's not your heart because your heart's over here and you know where it's at. But it's this weird sort of spot that no matter how cold it gets at night, even in Ohio's winters, it's just this sort of warm spot that sits at the center of your being ever since you sat down in the office at Dark Tower Games and said those words. And you feel that warmth sort of begin to flow down your arms. And the young boy begins to thrash extremely violently, and the chair actually snaps. And Luca kicks the chair out of the way as the creature sort of reaches for it to grab it, but can't. And it's held now simply by these chains that are embedded in the walls and the floor. And make me a wits composure roll -4. Out of the corner of your eye, you catch a look of Luca's face. Except for the fact that it's not Luca. Like, not even a little bit. There's no goatee. The features are super fine, high cheekbones, very delicate chin, long, flowing black hair. Luca's hair is brown, and it's sort of curly. His eyes are this weird acid yellow. He has long, thin fingers, and as you watch him sort of wave a hand in front of this young boy's face, and more sort of thin ropes of this weird shadowy substance sort of latch onto the young man and sort of pull him towards the ground. You notice there are 6 fingers on his hand.
Okay.
And it's time to roll again.
Yeah, because the other thing I'm keeping in mind is the point at which I learned the first thing about this happens later. It hasn't happened yet.
Wait.
In the park. Remember, a few sessions
Oh,
ago,
yeah.
in the park, I learned something about this, but I don't know that now.
Right, you don't. That's right.
So that's like a little bit of a freak out, but it seems to be helping me. So, all right.
Well, that said, you're going to get a -2 to this roll. So you only get a +1 instead of a +3.
Yeah, that's fair. All right.
Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Just barely.
You have this weird instinct, and you step forward as you're finishing the last line of the exorcism that you have placed in your mind. And you place 2 fingers against the young man's head. And then you get freaked out a little bit as Luca stands up, takes a step next to you, and gently lays his fingers on the back of yours, being very careful not to actually touch the skin of the person you're touching, but sort of just like mirroring your image. And as you look over, it's the weirdest thing. You can see Luca, the guy you spent a couple weeks with now, and you've kind of risked your life with, and that you're kind of getting to know, but you also see this weird creature that you saw before sort of overlaid over him. And it's time for one last roll.
All right.
Do it. Oh, wow. You blew that fuck out of that.
Hallelujah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not even close. Not even close. As you finish the last word, there's a flare of white silver light. And then there's this quick creep of this black blue that sort of slips under it. And almost seems to shield. You see these weird designs sort of appear over the kid's face. And then everything is just sort of this sort of light and shadow. And then the room sort of comes back into view. And make me a stamina roll -2.
My stamina is 2.
Okay, make me a chance roll then. Wait, you have athletics, right?
Yeah.
Okay, make me a stamina athletics -2.
Okay.
All right. You feel your knees sort of give a little bit, but then you just sort of like dig your heel in. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh, gosh. Not that much worse.
No.
In fact, it's exactly one worse. 13, 3, 6 of one, half dozen the other.
As you sort of catch yourself, the kid starts to fall forward. And Lucas sort of puts a hand out and sort of catches him at his chest and sort of leans down and gently lowers him to the floor because there's no chair now. And you now see, again, back full Luca, sort of wavy brown hair, his whole I wear only black nonsense. And he pulls out a ring of keys and starts unlocking manacle points. And you hear the door sort of creak open a little bit. And look over your shoulder, and a sort of thin face looks in. Is everything okay? Kenneth takes a step in. I brought drinks. I hope you like IPAs. It's kind of the only thing Luca lets in the house.
I'll sort of sigh, still probably sort of steadying myself. And then let my shoulders slump down and walk over and take one and say, thanks.
You turn around and Lucas picked the young man up. And as he picks him up, he already is beginning to look a lot healthier. Some colors sort of return to his cheeks, and he doesn't look nearly as lean and almost feral as he did before. He still looks thin, but it's sort of a I don't eat a lot because I'm too distracted doing things thin than it is a, I need to eat anything thin. And Luca throws him over one shoulder in a very fireman-style carry, grabs a beer as he walks through the door, and heads upstairs.
Okay. By the way, you have 2 music tracks playing right now? Should one of them go off?
I turned that one off. Anyways, so that one's stopping anyways, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, so with this, I imagine people are leaving the basement, so.
So Kenneth takes a step back out into the lab.
Okay.
Sets the tray that he had down, picks up a beer and starts sipping on it. And then he doesn't actually leave. He goes over to one of the coolers and pulls a small vial of this. So you've seen blood. You've seen more blood than you probably want to have seen at this point.
It's red.
This is red, but it's not blood. Like, blood isn't red. It's this weird brownish, rusty color. This is red. Like, fire engine red.
Okay.
And he walks over to a microscope and puts a couple of drops on a slide, picks up what you assume is alcohol, makes another couple of puts a slide cover on, and starts looking into it.
Okay. I'll go find the nearest thing to a post to lean up against and just sort of watch.
Yeah, there's a couple of, I mean, it's a basement. There are posts to hold up the floor.
Okay, I just want to make myself like, not like hide, but you know, just yeah, you know, nonchalant.
Yeah. So you sip on your beer for a couple of minutes, and he looks up and goes, "Oh, I didn't expect anyone to still be down here. Hi, my name's Kenneth." And he sort of looks at you a little closer and goes, "Oh shit, Petra?"
It's been a while. Good to see you.
He walks over and he sort of grabs your hand and shakes. His hands are smaller than yours, which is a weird feeling. Not smaller in a, like, you know, your hands overwhelm his, but they're very thin and delicate. And he sort of shakes your hand a little more vigorously than a normal person would. By the way, thanks. I guess it's 2 times now you've saved somebody I cared about.
Right, yeah, it took me a minute to remember. Yep.
How are things going? You're hooking up with Luca now?
Wait, what did he just say?
He said you're hooking up with Luca now, but he didn't say it in a manner like
right.
You're
that said,
up.
I do like a small double take, and then I realize what he actually meant, and say, you could say that. Yes, I didn't realize you two live together.
Yeah. So maybe a year or so after I started hanging out with you, and you helped me out. I was at the labs late one night, and this thing sort of broke in, and it was all kind of a blur. I remembered all the stuff that you had taught me, but none of it really worked. I know now that's because, well, what works on demons and ghosts don't really work on werewolves, but Luca happened to be chasing
Werewolf.
it, and
Sorry.
yeah, werewolf.
Congratulations on being here, having this conversation.
Yeah, he's kind of scary. I'm really glad he's on our side. Scary.
I can't say I've ever seen a werewolf that I know, I should say. My understanding, I probably have seen one at some point, but...
Hair, claws, fangs.
How different is it from my imagination?
Not a lot. Did you ever see Underworld?
Actually, Petra, probably. May have skipped that one.
He whips out a phone and makes a couple of motions and holds it up, and you see this picture. Bam.
I see.
It's not as far from that as you might think.
Yeah, I mean, this, if you look closely, you can see that it's not entirely real, but make it a little bit more lively, and I got you.
Anywho, so Luca came across, well, he didn't have a very good handle on the ammunition yet, so it probably took a lot more rounds than it does now, But anyways, long story short, he ended the thing, and yeah, he needed a roommate. I was really interested in trying to sort of figure this stuff out, and that's kind of how we started.
Huh.
And he points over at a table that has a bunch of various sizes of ammunition with weird, you see some weird clear rounds that have like things floating in them. You see a couple of rounds that are various, obviously of various kinds of minerals or elements or metals. As well as at the very end, there's something that looks like it's maybe made out of crystal or ice. Long, thin, maybe like a rifle round. And now I outfit the baddest motherfucker in town.
Okay, so at that, I'm just having a good laugh. Well, I will say I've almost my mantra is there's always one stronger. That being said, he's been handy to have around for sure. I don't know. Well, I went through a bit of an experience myself recently, and I don't know how we would have managed without Luca. So,
He's, like I said, he's scary. I'm glad he's on our side.
yeah, scary as the image from back in the room sort of flashes through my mind. Once again,
He sort of leans in a little bit as he sort of sees something on your face. Did you see it?
small furtive nod.
He won't tell me what it is. He picks up his phone again and like flips through a couple of pictures, and he pulls up a picture that's really blurry, but it's very clearly Luca with a pair of pistols in his hands, and there's a lot of flare from like gunfire and whatnot, but you can clearly see one half of one eye that is very yellow, and sort of this weird sharp angled cheekbone, and then this almost, it looks almost like mist, but now that you've seen what you've seen, you know it's this weird flowing black hair sort of flowing off the back of his head.
I'm gonna look at Kenneth and say, don't get me wrong, I don't know you well enough to accuse you of being reckless just yet, but you love this, don't you?
I spent the first 18 years of my life studying everything that everybody in front of me had ever studied and decided was set in stone, and feeling like it was wrong.
When you say everything, can you give me a couple examples of everything?
Okay, so I mean, physics is physics, and the world came about the way we know it came about. And at the end of the day, we do know probably about 90% of the species in the world. But the fact of the matter was, I always looked at the crazy guys who said that they'd seen Bigfoot, and I thought to myself, they seem like nice guys. Why do they have to be crazy? And then I thought about how many people get accused of being nuts because they see UFOs. And I mean, come on. Aliens at this point are not even a possibility, they're a probability.
Fermi paradox and all that.
Exactly. So, not everything literally, but so I won't say I dated a girl because it's not necessarily true, but I had a good friend, and we may have fooled around once or twice, who was in the mythology department, and we shared a lot of stories, and you might be surprised how much science and myth line up. And I guess you could say that, yes, I enjoy it, because Vindication is awesome.
I see. So, what, are we assembling manuscripts for posthumous publication, or what?
I mean, if you want, but I mean, as long as it's okay with Luca, I got a bunch of shit that I can supply you guys with. He was telling me you guys are kind of low on the firearms end of things, so... I mean,
Okay.
it's basically an arms race out there, and you guys are way behind the ball.
Luca is a better friend than I realized. I scrape together every month so that I don't have to buy Folgers.
Oh. Oh. Well, I mean, we don't exactly live amazingly, but most of this is... He looks around, scrounged from his nights out.
I see. That said, I don't know.
He walks over to the microphone or microscope he was looking at. He goes, "For instance, come here."
Okay, head over.
He offers the microscope to you. You look in.
Yep.
Make me an intelligence science roll.
Okay.
So that's a 1 dice. Okay. So you know molecular forms. I mean, you took biology in both your classes at trade school and in high school. You know cell forms and whatnot. Aside from the fact that this looks really weird, you're not entirely sure what you're looking at.
Okay.
So I presume you sort of look up and cock an eyebrow at Kenneth.
You know what? Actually, I'll keep staring at it, and I'll just say, "Tell me what I'm looking at."
Okay, so this is a couple of blood droplets that Luca was able to scrape off of a wall after he encountered a fire elemental. Now, if you notice, the cell structure is completely different from anything that I've seen at the very least. I mean, have you ever seen a pentagonal cell structure? That's not a thing that we have outside of Legends. On top of that, there's that... Do you see the weird sort of glowing lines that connect everything?
Yes.
I think their mitochondrial structure actually form almost a cellular nerve work.
Wait, so you're saying these things are wired?
I'm saying it's literally particles of carbon that have been ignited that are bound by a living structure that is in pain every second of its existence.
Well, wait. You say in pain, but are there nerve endings in there?
Absolutely.
Wait. Is that the glowing things, or is that something else?
Those glowing things aren't nerve endings, but he reaches over, grabs a dropper, and you see this weird light blue mixture. And he lifts off the slide cover with a pair of tweezers, reaches in and drops the tiniest little drop in, and you watch these glowing lines flare bright red. And then little lines of white and yellow sort of flash back and forth between them. I'm convinced that they act in the same way that nerves act, except you can't construct that level of tissue when, your core temperature is 500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fair.
So they use cellular structure to basically do the same thing.
I'll stand up and turn around and look at him and say, is the usual biological vocabulary even the right one for, and I'll sort of look back at it for a moment, fire
absolutely
elemental?
not. No. I mean, I'm using what I know.
Thanks for talking in words I can and then I correct myself, slightly understand. Look, I think I've got a pretty good head for this, but I pretty much cap out at high school biology.
totally okay, because at this point, we all do. He puts the dropper back in and screws it on. But do you want to see what they do when you fire them through the barrel of a 6.96? That's not a real gun. Karnis knows guns. Why am I making up words? Do you want to see what they do when you fire them through the barrel of a 38 special?
Do you have a firing range down here?
You've met Luca, right?
I just sort of give him a nod.
He walks over, picks up this small cylinder that has these 6 cartridges that have that weird fire engine red liquid in them. They're almost, you know, they can't be glass because glass would be far too fragile, but they're very clear like that. And he reaches into a drawer, takes out a 38G special, locks it in, spins it, slaps it, turns it around, and hands it to you.
I hold it, and I think, is this okay? I'm probably firing a full month's salary out of this thing.
Oh, no, I've got it. It's absolutely fine. It's worth every second. Also, I taught Luca everything he knows about shooting, so he owes me. He takes you out a side door that you didn't see because it's a normal wooden door, okay, and it hides in the rest of the lab with all the bullshit. Opens it up, and inside is a short but legitimate firing range.
All right, let's have at it. So I'll take a respectful moment to line up the shot and fire away.
You take the first shot. And the first thing you notice is there's almost no recoil. There's not the, and of course, Kenneth handed you ear protection, but there's not the cacophonous crack you're used to from a gun. It's a much, much quieter bark.
Yeah, so I would have been braced for something a lot more than what I'm feeling.
Absolutely. And at first you're like, oh, this is just really good ear protection. And then you realize that the bullet's traveling much slower than you're used to. So it's not the immediate bark woof through a target. It's bark, thought second, impact. And they don't have paper targets, they have solid targets. So you see this sort of splash of this color across this target. And you're waiting. And for a second you're disappointed. And then the entire target erupts in flame.
I'll look down, and then turn around to Kenneth,
he's smiling like a lunatic.
Well, and what I'm about to say is Petra's not a super smiley type either, but she definitely has sort of a nice little grin creeping across her face as well. And I'll just look up and say, cool.
I know, right? Awesome.
These are the good moments. These are the good times.
So he sort of offers a hand for you to hand back the 38.
I'll hand it back, or I'll do the usual click. Hand it back to him.
Yep. He takes it, opens the cylinder, removes the cart. It's not a cartridge. It's a speed loader essentially. So he removes that, sets it down very gently. And then he turns, and you see there's a small table behind you that has a half dozen different looking ammunitions. And he picks one up that has this weird sort of jade looking color to it. Almost looks like it's carved out of emerald, maybe.
Okay.
Obviously just the tip. Like the remainder of the cartridge is full
like
metal. And, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also some sort of intricate carvings on the end of it. You're not entirely sure. He loads it up, spins it, slaps it in, turns it around, and hands it to you.
Okay. Is the target still on fire?
Yes, you'll have to move down and go to the next one.
Okay. All right. So take care of that.
There are 3 stalls.
Oh, okay. Are we just letting that one burn? Do we have a fire
Yep.
extinguisher or something we should use?
No, they're just kind of. He's just kind of letting it burn. You can try to go get a fire extinguisher if you want.
Okay. I'm gonna. Before I move down, I'm just gonna sort of, cock my head towards the burning target, and I'll just say, "Is that okay?"
He looks at it, cocks his head a little bit, reaches inside his jacket, pulls out a 45, takes aim, pulls it back, pops out the cartridge, double checks, puts it back in, fires. Normal shot that you're used to. Just cock, boom. And there's this sort of spray of mist that clears after a second, and the entire dummy is covered in this weird frost. He sort of puts it back in his shoulder holster.
You are so indescribably badass. I'll turn around and take the shot with with the gun that I have.
I love Kenneth so much.
All right. I'm firing mine at the second target.
All right, so you take the shot. This one's much more normal, but because you were kind of expecting a low load like the last one, it feels a little harder than normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a firing shot, and you almost don't notice the impact because as soon as the bullet leaves the chamber, there's this weird shimmering effect across everything you're seeing. It hits the target, and the target disappears.
I'm just staring at it. Or where it was. Slowly set the gun down. Turn around. Is it invisible or is it just not there?
He's holding up a hand, and then he ticks down his thumb, and then he ticks down a finger.
I'll turn back around.
And then he takes down a third. And after another couple of long moments, you begin to see the outline of the target sort of bleed through. And it slowly fades back into view.
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio. Or whatever the stupid dude's name was.
Nope. I feel like it's Horatio, and I don't care if that's wrong, but yes. Absolutely fucking yes.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Man, there are days I wish, but I'm pretty sure I'm Butters. But I'm a badass fucking Butters.
I'll say, and handed back the gun again.
He opens it, pulls it, sets it down. All right. One more. He reaches over.
Do I get the explanation for that one?
He turns around and he looks at you. I don't know if you're ready for it.
Do I get to know? Okay. Was the target there the whole time? Do I get to know that?
Yes. Oh, no, of course. It's a glamour.
Okay. That's fine. If you want
to how much
you can keep trade secrets.
Fakes?
They exist and there's a lot of legends.
Right.
And I've got a friend who seems to enjoy them.
I have a pet gnome.
Fascinating.
I don't mean that in like a derogatory, like I own it and I take care of it sense. I mean that in like the... Okay, let me rephrase. I have a token gnome.
I see.
He does some work for me from time to time. However, those are worth more than a year's salary because he's expensive as fuck to pay off.
From the little bit that I know of the Fae, I believe that. Thank you for the honor of letting me fire it.
Have you ever tried to import a actual tanker of honey? It's insane.
No, sir, I have not.
Customs has so many questions.
That's both in game and in real life. That's fantastic.
He picks up a final cylinder, slides it into the 38, spins it, and clacks it in. You saw quickly as he grabbed it a sort of silvery blue metal, and he hands it back over to you. I will warn you, this one's not going to be nearly as spectacular.
Ah, sad face. Well, folks, we'll figure out what it is momentarily. In the meantime, I'm going to once again stop the recording. I'm recording now, so I am going to take the gun. And at this point, I'm even putting a little bit of showmanship into it. So I'm just like, as I take the gun, I'm going to do a quick Hail Mary with the other hand. And
all right.
And turn around to fire.
So, you know what? For this last one, make me a dexterity firearms roll.
All right. I guess this isn't my gun, so I don't get my bonus, huh? Just straight dexterity firearms.
It's a sidearm, right? Your bonus is for sidearms, right?
True.
So yeah.
All right.
Totally.
Cool. All right.
I wanted more, but that's okay. So you line up, you do your boom, and you didn't notice because you were a little caught up in all the awe of the last two rounds. You didn't notice that the last target is overlaid with some sort of flesh. Kind of looks like steaks, but they're a little too pale to be steak.
Okay.
There's a lot more. There's no fat. You don't see any of the nice marbly fat. You don't. They're very lean and thin, and they're almost white. As the bullet impacts the target, all of the sort of flank steaks in probably a basketball size diameter around the bullet impact blacken. And slowly you watch these veins of black sort of crawl throughout anything connecting.
I'll just watch this happen and wait for it to seem done.
It takes a second or two, but it's spread throughout most of what's laid out over the target.
I turn around and say, who needs hollow points?
Kenneth is kind of looking at you. Man, we have got to get more women around here.
Just laugh again. What makes you say that?
He sort of blushes a little bit. It's impressive, but yeah, no.
I understand where you're coming from.
The vampires get fucked.
Oh, shit. That's nice.
He offers out a hand for the gun again.
Hand it back.
He spins out the cartridge, pulls out one of the bullets, and holds it up. So, legend says, I hate starting off a sentence like that.
I'll allow
so
it.
So there's a legend, supposedly, from back in the day. And when I say back in the day, I mean like Cain and Abel back in the day. When Cain killed his brother, he used a certain kind of stone as the knife. And supposedly, all vampires from henceforth are immediately slain by that stone because they're the offspring of Cain, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if I believe all that bullshit. What I do know, and he holds it back up, is this stone, which I've had a geologist look at, and he has no idea what it is. So I've decided to call it obliterite. It's better than what Luca wanted to call it.
What, kryptonite?
No, he wanted to call it Nocturnum Sequium or some Latin bullshit. It's fucking obliterite, and it's awesome.
I think for a moment. His name kind of sounds like a liquor that's trying too hard.
I agree. Anyways, anything that doesn't actually have life left in its body doesn't just work on vampires. We're talking zombies. We're talking
fascinating.
ghouls with too much vamp blood in their system. We're talking any of those undead motherfuckers. You put one of these in them, and if it doesn't take them out, they wish it did.
That's fast. I hope your source for this is under wraps.
It's extremely under wraps.
It better be.
We call it the Smithsonian.
Ah.
You see, there were 2 meteorites that landed. One hit down here, not here literally, but on the continental United States. The other one was over in Iceland. Only 2 places you can find this metal.
Forgive me for memeing for a moment, but I'm not worthy.
Oh, no. He picks up a vial that was sitting down on the table. This is about 1 gram of the meteorite. It takes me a long time to melt it down and refine it, but this will make about 100 rounds.
Okay, little dab will do you. Good.
That said, I mean, unless you're up against something untowards, just shoot it in the face a lot.
Got it.
Or he picks up another cylinder that is one of those weird clear ones, and it has these little white and slightly off-white particles floating around in it. Or you use these because oak and garlic are easy to find. Oh, and I suspended it in holy water just in case.
Sounds like a decent shot.
He holds it out to you. Drops it in your hand.
Nice.
So, shall we go shopping?
Yes, please. Thank you.
He takes you back out into the lab. There's a couple of large, not large, there's a couple of small lockers up against one of the walls, and he starts opening them. He pulls 2 duffel bags out, sets them down. He starts throwing various types of rounds of, you see the weird vamp shot with the oak and garlic in it. You see a small clip of what looks to be 9mm, maybe 5 or 6 shots of the fire elemental go in. You see a full magazine from what seems to be some sort of assault rifle, followed by said assault rifle, that has that light blue shimmering liquid, not the obliterite.
Right, yep, the other one.
That goes in after it, as well as, a handful of different types of guns, ammunition, regular ammunition, and specialty ammunition. And when he's done, you have 2 full duffel bags.
Okay. I am a couple things. First of all, during the process of loading this all up, I want to ask him if he knows anything about how generally effective he thinks the vamp shot is.
He stops and thinks for a moment. You know, this is probably a question for, hey, Luca! Luca comes out. Yeah, what's up? Hey, the vamp shot, the new oaken garlic essence in the holy water. How useful is that? Luca stops and just sort of smiles. Is this some sort of joke?
I call up. Look, I don't know all the lore on this stuff. Some things say they're weak to some things. You know, I was just curious how generally effective it was.
Luca sort of levels his eyes at Kenneth and looks back at you. They're very effective. And 2 to 3 shots for an average age vampire usually puts them down.
What's an average age vampire?
Nothing ancient, so we're talking anywhere between 50 and 100 years.
Okay.
And then he looks back over at Kenneth. She has a boyfriend. And he turns back into the house.
I look over at Kenneth and say, don't worry, not offended at all. This is awesome.
He's sort of like looking down and scraping the ground with his foot a little bit. Very classic anime. Kenneth is the best anime protagonist. So you guys load up your trunk with pun not intended.
Yeah,
with,
yeah, that's fine. The best Christmas gift ever.
Various articles. Yes, the best gift ever. Yeah. Anyways, you have lots of junk in your trunk, so.
Word up.
And we'll call that scene for how Petra.
No. Scene is me giving him a hug and a quick kiss and saying thank you.
When you say a kiss, what do you mean?
I mean
a kiss on the cheek. No?
Let me think.
Ooh, how does Petra play this? Ooh, now I'm curious.
I mean the quick kiss on the lips. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. That's
I know exactly what you mean.
That's the one I'm going for because this man fucking deserves it. Not long enough for him to hopefully get any ideas, but
no. He's had dates. He's not a virgin or anything.
Yeah,
he knows what it means.
Yeah. That's the one though.
All
right.
And so the scene is that sort of quick kiss on the lips, and then Petra driving off, and a little bit of color in her cheeks, and
immediately going to stash this stuff.
And the final shot is just Luca in a window with a hand on his head.
Brilliant.
All right. So it's already 10 o'clock. I had an idea for another scene. But I almost don't want to ruin this beautiful, wonderful little lighthearted scene.
That's
because
cool
the next one's with Tara's uncle. So.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Hey, should I stop the recording?
Yeah, we'll stop. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.